How many downloads of Jim and Bill It's Another Day podcast?
Today, the podcast show has fetched 400 million downloads since its start, and an average of 350,000 downloads per episode, about 3.9 million downloads per week.
Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. Good Thursday. Boy, I'll tell you what, a lot of things have gone down.
They sure have.
In the past 24 hours.
You know, Bill, I think that he does all these nominees at one time so that the media doesn't have a chance to really focus on one. You know,
he's doing drops, daily drops.
Oh, and and he's inundating people with names that if it was a slower pace, the media would be out there trying to destroy him, but he doesn't.
They still are.
Oh, I know they are. But they haven't got time, really. Just as they're getting keyed up to go after somebody, another name comes out that drives them crazy, and they get distracted. But
Matt Gaetz?
I think Matt Gaetz. Now, a lot of people are concerned about that nominee. I think it's terrific. Might be the best he's made.
Concerned. Well, they're concerned because, you know, he speaks straight out. You know, he speaks what he believes. He speaks what he thinks. You know, He doesn't sugarcoat it, and he shoots from the hip. So, you know, you think you had a gunman? We got a gunman now.
You know, I want to explain something for a second to our audience that a lot of mainstream media is glossing over intentionally, by the way, I think. They'll come on and they'll say it's a controversial nominee, Matt Gaetz, who, by the way, is being investigated by the House Ethics Committee. I heard this yesterday for some sexual abuse charges, and they drop it like that. Okay, they let it hang like that. Let me explain as far as I know from what I've been able to ascertain. I remember the story when it first came out. I remember what happened when down the road, and then I understand why the House Ethics Committee is doing what they're doing now. All right, They came out and said that Matt Gaetz was involved with a child abuse, a sexual case, and it was a claim. Okay, so they investigated it. The state investigated it. There were no charges. The Attorney General investigated the charges and didn't charge Matt Gaetz. There was nothing there as far as they were concerned. And that was it. He beat the charge. And then down the road, the politicians in the House, not liking Matt Gaetz because he's a MAGA firebrand, decided we're going to bring this guy down a notch. And they decided to reinitiate this House Ethics Committee investigation, all right? So they figured this will bring him down. Well,
right.
I don't know if you remember this or not. This happened about 2 weeks ago, just before the election. President Trump was at a rally. Matt Gaetz was there, too. And President Trump said from the stage, and of course, I think it was Madison Square Garden. He says, and of course, Matt Gaetz, we got a surprise, and we'll keep it a surprise. They'll find out after the election. President Trump said that from the stage. We didn't know what he was talking about.
Now we know.
But I think that they knew about this. Obviously, they knew about this House ethics charge. They knew there was nothing there. They knew it was politically motivated. But here's the little piece de resistance, right? They were supposed to come out with their report, their House Ethics Committee report, this coming Friday. So Matt Gaetz gets nominated to the Attorney General's office by the president. He's nominated. He accepts the nomination. He's going to take it. And then the very same day, Matt Gaetz says, I'm resigning from the House of Representatives. Bingo. So, Mike Johnson says, well, it came as a bit of a surprise, but it's really good because it gives us more time to get the person we want in place in that office in Florida, because it's an appointee position now by the Florida governor. So they have 8 weeks to get somebody in place, which is great. But the big thing about it is, by Matt Gaetz resigning, is it makes the House Ethics Committee, their report, meaningless. It makes it mean nothing. As a matter of fact, they can't even come out with the report. They're done. Now, here's the thing. Washington is a city of leaks, right?
Yeah.
So you can bet your bottom dollar that somebody in that committee is going to leak something, but it will be a leak, and Matt Gaetz will just brush it off like it means nothing. It's not the official report. There was no official report because he's not a member of the House of Representatives anymore. So
the Democrats are so desperate. I mean, you've got people in denial with things going on. You've got supposedly people. The MSNBC is going, after the election, everybody said, to hell with Twitter. We're going to Sky Blue or whatever it's called, some other social media. Yeah. And they're leaving in droves. They've gained 1 million people. These are disgruntled Democrats that are leaving. So what? Don't let the door hit you where the Lord splits you. You know what I mean?
Well, speaking of disgruntled Democrats, here's Don Lemon. You call him what? How do you pronounce his name?
Don Lemon.
Oh yes, Don Lemon. Français.
French.
This is Don Lemon, former news anchor on CNN, one of the people who helped to make CNN what it is today. Here's Don Lemon about his decision to leave X.
Hi, everyone. I have loved connecting with all of you on Twitter and then on X for all of these years. But it's time for me to leave the platform. I once believed that it was a place for honest debate and discussion, transparency and free speech. But I now feel it does not serve that purpose. In addition, starting this Friday, November 15th, X is implementing new terms of service, which, among other things, states that, quote, all disputes be brought exclusively in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Texas or state courts located in Tarrant County, Texas, end quote. The full terms of service can be found on my written statement or on the X website. Now, as the Washington Post recently reported on X's decision to change the terms, this, quote, ensures that such lawsuits will be heard in courthouses that are a hub for conservatives, which experts say could make it easier for X to shield itself from litigation and punish critics. I think that speaks for itself. You can find me on YouTube at The Don Lemon Show, or on TikTok and Facebook at Don Lemon, and on Instagram and Blue Sky at Don Lemon Official. I hope you will join me there. Thanks.
Don't hold your breath, Don. I mean, what he's saying is he would prefer that they kept the terms of service as such that you could bring the charges in front of a liberal judge in a liberal situation.
They used to be as a liberal. They were a liberal outlet. And we've had a liberal judicial system. And, you're going, it's all swinging conservative now. And, if you look at Trump's picks, they're very broad. Yes, there are conservatives there, but there are people that you wouldn't normally say are conservative. He is doing exactly what the forefathers wanted. This is going to be probably one of the most diverse, if not the most diverse administrations
absolutely.
that there is.
Yeah, you're absolutely
correct.
correct.
Don Lemon, happy trails to you. We'll never meet again. Bye-bye.
Yes. Now, he's these guys think a lot of themselves, man. They really think that the world evolves around their decisions. Like, I'll fix X. I will fix Elon Musk. I'm going to leave and take my stuff somewhere else. It's like nobody even knew he was on X in the first place. Maybe a handful of people.
Yeah, and these stories are coming from MSNBC and stuff like that. And I'm sitting there going, the Democrats, they can't grasp onto the fact that they lost. That nobody wanted to hear their diatribe. Like, they would have you believe, that map was predominantly blue. In reality, it is really red, and this election cycle has done one thing conclusively. It has proven, if you sit there and do a diagnostic under the hood, that actually 2020 was indeed stolen. But we're beyond that now. But it's showing a whole different thing. But I mentioned to you the other day, you watch TV and movie buffs, but there was a line from The Wrath of Khan that these Democrats won't let go. And it's the line, you'll remember, it was, from Hell's Gate, I stab at thee For hate's sake, I spit my last breath at thee. They are going to go down in flames.
I think he said it just as he was going down in flames.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did. I remember the scene. Yes.
And he crashed and burned. And, that's what the Democrats are doing. From Hell's Gate, they spit at thee. Well, spit if you must, spit if you might. But guess what? You're done.
Exactly. As they would say, put a fork in it. You're done.
Yes, you are the Thanksgiving turkey. You just didn't know it yet.
You hear it. And by the way, you really can tell who in the media has an agenda, who's a leftist. And like it's 95%, okay? Every so often you get the odd conservative media journalist like Scott Jennings, who, by the way, is being considered, from what I understand, for the White House press secretary position because he's proven that he's able to stand up in front of a room full of liberals and handle them easily. So
he wants it. He wants the gig.
But, I do think that they're amazed that we have the audacity to put people who think like the president in positions of authority and power. It's like, oh, you can't have. And by the way, Susan Collins, please don't run again. Please, up in Maine, get somebody who truly is a conservative Republican, because she's a joke. She comes out and says that Matt Gaetz is the wrong guy, and no, come on, Susan, get on the wagon, will you, please? Support
Lizzie Borden in the Senate. Oh, Elizabeth Warren, excuse me.
Oh, what
I get my Liz's mixed up. Liz Cheney, Elizabeth Warren.
Well, she's doing a hatchet job on that senatorial position, I'll tell you that much. She has the audacity to come out and complain about Matt Gaetz and all the decisions, to be honest with you.
Well, she's going after Trump, too, saying that he's breaking the law.
Yeah, right.
There's a law that she wrote that, the transfer of power has to be civil, and you have to agree to certain terms.
Oh.
What terms? Did Joe agree to those same terms?
And these are the same people, by the way, who had no problem with Rachel Levine. Remember that guy who was dressed in a woman's admiral outfit and with the long hair, who up until about 6 or 7 years ago was called Richard Levine. Okay, and has kids. That guy, no problem for the Democrats. And also, do you remember that guy who wore red dresses and that heavy red lipstick and had shaved his hair and was caught stealing luggage in airports? That guy who was like an undersecretary under the Biden administration. They had no problem with that. They got problems with, I hear them talking about Pete Hegseth. Drives me nuts. They will say in the most derogatory way, well, he's a weekend anchor on Fox News. No, let me tell you about Pete Hegseth. He is a Princeton graduate with a master's degree from Harvard University. He is a twice decorated with a Bronze Star combat veteran who knows what it's like to be in battle and to fight in a war and to literally put your rear end on the line. He does know these things firsthand, and he has, if you've listened to his interviews, he is absolutely in line with President Trump and his agenda. Why wouldn't he put somebody like that in that position? The Secretary of Defense.
Yeah.
We had this guy. Did you know? We had this guy, Secretary Lloyd Austin, who during the COVID thing, he put on this plastic mask. He looked like Darth Vader, and that was a mask over a mask. He looked ridiculous walking down, looking at the troops in this stupid mask, and we're supposed to take him seriously, and not take Pete Hegseth seriously. No, I pray to God that all of the choices that President Trump has made thus far make it, every single one of them, because I think they're on the mark. I mean, I have disagreements with friends of mine, including family members who think that a couple of the decisions are questionable,
Well, nobody's going to agree on everything, but you know what? At least he's coming in this time with knowledge and an agenda, and a staff. And like Elizabeth Warren saying, that Trump is breaking the law, her law that she wrote. It's basically a disclaimer and an agreement to not change any policies.
Oh,
hell, I wouldn't sign that.
Hell no. Understand something, Elizabeth.
It's a protection clause is what it is.
Elizabeth, everything is being changed. Everything is being changed. Now, I'm not saying everything is being changed for the worse. I think everything's being changed for the better. We're fixing your mistakes. That's what's happening.
We're cleaning up the swamp. Draining the swamp means you're going to put a whole new crew in, and you're going to move them the hell out of D.C., and you know what? They can communicate on the phone or through emails. We don't need everyone to get together and get buddy-buddy and chummy-chummy and go, well, now that we're together, hey, we have power this way. Forget about that. You just need to do your job.
I got a clip from Matt Gaetz coming up in a second, but first I want to remind people about our rightsideshop.com store, rightsideshop.com storefront. And I mention it because if you haven't seen our exciting new Daddy's Home sweatshirt, T-shirts, and cups, you got to get to the site and take a look. You got to have it. By the way, I think those are available all around the world, right?
You can get that anywhere. I mean, as the old Dobie Gillis line was, good stuff, Maynard. You got to check it out.
Yeah, exactly. Rightsideshop.com, where you'll also find our Right Side, Jim and Bill's Right Side coffee, medium roast, and decaf. Oh, it tastes great, doesn't it, Bill? Huh?
I do that just so you'll go.
Oh, I got to have some coffee when I'm done with this commercial. That's what I'm doing. We also have, as you know, a very unique part of this whole process. We have Juan and the Border Guards who are here in studio again. They're here, a special engagement. Actually, they do this every day. But they're here to perform for us as only Juan and the Border Guards can do.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Marvelous, guys. Once again, you nailed it. Oh, my gosh. So get yourself some Jim and Bill's Right Side coffee, medium roast or decaf in our Right Side shop. Okay, rightsideshop.com. Anyway, Matt Gaetz, I want to give you a sample of what they're afraid of. And they are petrified. And I think we talked about this before the show. Adam Schiff.
Yeah, Shifty Schiff is worried.
Oh, big time. He is not happy that Matt Gaetz is going to be the Attorney General. And they're saying, well, he'll never get through. Don't count on it. Trust me, President Trump has got sway. And you know that he's going to be calling some of his friends in the Senate to make sure things get done.
Well, Adam really doesn't have anything to worry about because he wrote himself into this mess, and he is an award-winning writer.
Screenwriter,
from what I understand. Yeah, screenwriter.
Have you seen any of his movies? No, because they've never been produced.
The point. Yeah, they've never been produced. But I'm sure he's got the talent to write himself out of this pile that he stepped himself into.
Listen, I want you to hear this. This is Matt Gaetz grilling Merrick Garland. This is an idea of how he will be as Attorney General.
Recognized for 5 minutes. Attorney General, you've told us that it's a dangerous conspiracy theory to allege that the Department of Justice is communicating with these state and local prosecutions against Trump. You can clear it all up for us right now. Will the Department of Justice provide to the committee all documents, all correspondence between the department and Alvin Bragg's office and Fonnie Willis's office and Letitia James's office?
The offices you're referring to are independent offices of state.
I get that. The question is whether or not you will provide all of your documents and correspondence. That's the question. I don't need a history lesson.
Well, I'm going to say again, We do not control those offices. They make their own decisions.
The question is whether you communicate with them, not whether you control them. Do you communicate with them, and will you provide those communications?
You make a request, we'll refer it to our Office of Legislative Affairs.
But see, here's the thing. You come in here and you lodge this attack that it's a conspiracy theory, that there is coordinated lawfare against Trump. And then when we say, fine, just give us the documents, give us the correspondence, and then if it's a conspiracy theory, that will be evident. But when you say, well, we'll take your request, and then we'll sort of work it through the DOJ's accommodation process, then you're actually advancing the very dangerous conspiracy theory that you're concerned about. Now, you were a judge, once nominated the highest court in our country. When you were a judge, I'm just curious, did you ever make political donations to partisan candidates?
No.
No, and you didn't, because that would create the potential appearance of impropriety.
I didn't, because there's a federal rule barring federal judges from making contributions.
Right, but under that same theory of attacks on the judicial process, like, shouldn't someone be owed like a jury of their peers and a judge that's non-biased, rather than getting a judge from your political opponent's donor file?
I'm well aware that you're not asking a hypothetical. You're asking me to comment on a jury verdict in another jurisdiction which has to be respected. I won't comment on it. That case is still ongoing. The defendant,
Mr. Attorney General, I hadn't asked you about the verdict yet. We were getting there. I was talking about the judge. And so let me ask you this question about your time as a judge. Was there ever a time when you were a judge when you had a family member who was personally profiting off of the notoriety of a case that was before your court?
Look, I'm going to say again, it's very clear you're asking me to comment on a case in another jurisdiction.
No, wait, hold on, Mr. Attorney General. Did you ever have a family member profit off of the notoriety of any case that you sat over?
Say again, you're asking
yes or no?
You're asking me to comment on a case currently.
Well, it seems you're connecting the dots, Mr. Attorney General. I'm just asking you as to a general principle, but you are aware that Judge Merchan's daughter was profiting off of this prosecution. You are aware that that creates the appearance of impropriety. You know the very reason there's a federal rule against judges giving donations is because it is the very attack on the judicial process that we're concerned about.
I'm sorry, I don't agree with anything you just said, but I'm not going to comment on it.
Okay, so you won't comment on it, Mr. Attorney General, but you had no problem dispatching Matthew Colangelo. Who's Matthew Colangelo?
That is false. I did not dispatch Matthew Colangelo.
Matthew Colangelo became the Assistant Attorney General at the very beginning of the Biden administration. Without having been Senate confirmed, goes and gets this senior role at the DOJ, and then after, I believe it's Gupta replaces Colangelo, Colangelo makes this remarkable downstream career journey from the U.S. Department of Justice in Washington, D.C., and then pops up in Alvin Bragg's office to go get Trump. And you're saying that's just a career choice that was made that has nothing to do with the lawfare coordinated by the DOJ.
I'm saying it's false. I did not dispatch Mr. Colangelo anywhere.
Well, do you know how he ended up there?
I assume he applied for a job there and got the job.
But see, you know what?
I can tell you I had nothing to do with it.
Well, you might not have had anything to do with it, but we've got this contemporaneous evidence in Mr. Pomerantz's book. So Pomerantz writes this book, which I'm sure you're aware of, where he says, we put together the legal eagles to get Trump. We got all these folks together and we assembled them for that purpose. And so when we on the Judiciary Committee think about attacks on the judicial process, our concern is that the facts and the law aren't being followed. A target is acquired, here Trump, and then you assemble the legal talent from DOJ, Mr. Pomerantz, and you bring everybody in to get him. And meanwhile, the judge is making money on it. The judge is making money on it, or the judge's family is making money on it for stuff that you yourself wouldn't do. You know, no one's going to buy this. No one's going to believe it. It's going to create great disruption. And I am saddened by it because, like you, I have given my life to the law. I care deeply about the law. And I think that the lawfare we've seen against President Trump will do great damage well beyond our time in public service. I see my time's expired. I yield back.
Wow. That's what
he's a pit bull.
And I think there was a tweet that I read yesterday that was directed toward Merrick Garland, which said, Don't throw away your papers when you leave the office. Hang on to your stuff. You may need it.
No, I heard that there was a story, and I don't have it in front of me, that that's the exact thing that's going on. Things are being shredded right now as we speak.
Yeah, I would not be surprised about that.
Let me ask you a question. I just saw a story pop up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had mentioned that Tulsi Gabbard got the
DNI, Director of National Intelligence. Yeah.
right, and the story pops up. It came out yesterday, but it's flooding out there. Would you say that Tulsi, with her background, I know she was a Democrat before, but a big military hoorah person. Would you say she's a communist and a communist sympathizer?
Absolutely not.
Because that is what the left media is doing. This, I believe, is from the Washington Examiner. If you thought about the worst possible choice of Director of National Intelligence, former Democrat turned Republican Hawaiian Rep Tulsi Gabbard would be high up there. And they're listing,
Bill,
different Republican.
They're going to throw as much crap at these nominees as whether it's truthful or not. It means nothing. They're going to throw it.
They're saying though that she is sympathetic to Putin and Z.
Well, wait a second. Wait a second. Maybe there are some people who are honest Americans who don't think this war in the Ukraine is an honest, above-board war.
She doesn't.
I think that that's true. Does that make her un-American? I mean, I'm devastated, and I'm so sad that there's so many innocent Ukrainians are suffering, and some have died as a result of this lousy war. Do I think that Putin should have gone in? I think he should have. I think he thought it was going to be a walk in the park. I think he thought it was going to be over in a weekend. I truly believe that. I don't think he thought it would be dragging on like it is. But, wars are funny things. Once you put your foot in the water, so to speak, you can't get it out. It's not really water, it's quicksand.
Yeah.
And that's what I think he's found out. I think he wants to end it. But he cannot end it in a loss.
No, he can't. And he's stepped up his attacks. The drones have been flying in, blowing the hell out of Kyiv. And you got to feel sorry for these people. But, they were thrown into a war by warmongers. And the only reason that we would do that is that there's money for the military-industrial complex, money for politicians that are in the pockets of that industrial complex. Their palms are getting greased. So it doesn't matter what's right or wrong. What matters is how much you're going to give me.
Yeah, I do believe that. Every time he came over here, after we'd already given him tens of billions of dollars, and he'd be coming over for more money, right? More money, more cash, more stuff from us. And by the way, he's concerned because, trust me, if Trump comes in and says, no, we're done with this, no more, that war is over. That war is done. You will find that Zelensky will take a permanent residency in his Miami retreat. Yeah, he has a place in Miami, from what I understand, a beautiful mansion in Florida. If he's so much in love with the Ukraine, why does he have a place on the other side of the world to escape to? And these are guys who, I'm sure he made a decent living as a comedian on television in the Ukraine, but I'll bet you right now he's worth a heck of a lot more. I'm just saying. So,
Oh, I'm sure he'll be making the rounds on, Fallon and Kimmel and all of that stuff.
Interesting thing that happened yesterday, too, before I forget, Bill. There is so much stuff out there that we are almost like kids in a toy store. It's like you see one thing you like and you want that, and you haven't got time to play with it because you see another thing you like. In the state of Pennsylvania, it was a fait accompli. Dave McCormick was the winner. AP said it, and all these other news outlets said it.
Right.
So the left, the corrupt left in PA, worked their tails off to come up with more ballots, and they kept counting the ballots. Now, I thought it was over and they shouldn't be doing this, but they did it anyway. And, of course, like-minded people in charge said, okay, we'll count them. And so what's happened now is I guess the numbers have dropped to a point where they're going to have a recount in PA. And Dave McCormick is now not a sure thing like he was for several days. And you cannot tell me that this isn't corruption. This is why they have got to say, one day, paper ballots, it's over in a day. You cannot drag it out for a week.
what they need to do is say how many legitimate votes are there in the state, and now how many ballots do we have? If we have more ballots than we have legitimate votes, you either go back to the original count because somewhere something went wrong. You say, okay, let's do it again. But see, they would love to have a re-vote here because
you're right.
They've already refilled their war chest because the emails are being bombarded from Kamala and Waltz going, we need help to overturn these seats. And they're very blatant about it.
Oh, yeah.
They want to go in and redo votes and do recounts and all of that. They didn't concede. They just went and crawled in their shell.
Bill, here's the thing I worry about is the energy that we all had on Election Day. The fire that we all had on Election Day, it's gone because we won. And everybody kind of relaxes. And what will happen if
not for the losers?
Well, that's true. You're exactly right. But if there's a revote, if they decide, okay, we'll be fair, we'll do another election for the senator position, right? Well, I don't think the people on the right are going to be fired up like the people on the left are going to be, and Casey will win. I know that sounds it sounds defeatist. I don't mean to sound that way, but the fact of the matter is we have gone for a week thinking we did a great job, we won everything. In the meantime, like Bill just said, the left has been out there. They've been sharpening their knives.
They have done this, if you go back and historically look, where they have lost all the time. Well, there's more votes to be counted. Well, there's a truck out in the parking lot. We didn't unload that one yet.
True.
They've done this. They did it in the last election.
Yep.
They did it back in, before that in 16. They did it in 12. Where they lost, they went back and said, let's spend a lot of money because we can get this turned over. And 90% of the time they flip it. Does that mean it's legitimate that they flipped it? No, it doesn't. It means that they went in and they bought that election. They bought that seat.
Yeah.
Is McCormick going to change the scope of the fact that we have the Senate? No, but because we still have it. But it's one more voice for them. And this guy is a clown. And if you're from Pennsylvania and you voted, for McCormick and Casey's coming back, Casey's the clown. I think I got my name swapped there, but Casey's the clown. This ought to really tick you off to where, okay, you want to fight?
I think
let's go back and we'll redo this vote.
I think we're going to find out how strong the new RNC people really are, because now it was announced there's going to be a recount. If I were the RNC chairman like Michael Whatley or Laura Trump, I would be putting a full court press on saying, wait a second, hold it, stop the presses. This recount stuff, how did you get to that figure? How did you find these ballots? And I would challenge the living daylights out of, don't just accept it. Don't just say, okay, the state found these. Find out where they got these ballots from. Make it hard for them to do this, to steal this.
Even in Philly, the key turning point, it got down to that area. Even they said there's just not enough votes to get Casey in. And out of the 100,000 left, there was not enough of a percentage to do it. So the only way they could do is say, well, we got provisional ballots. And provisional ballots are questionable at best.
Yeah.
When you start counting those, it's a desperation move by the Democrats because Republicans don't get to use those. They never come in our favor. They're saying, okay, we can cook the numbers here. Who are these clowns? Let's go ahead and let's audit every stinking one of those ballots.
This has Mark Elias. I guess that's who all over it. He's the guy who was big into the Clinton people. He's the dirty trickster guy. Mm-hmm. When it was announced that he was going to double down on this campaign, try to get it a recount, and he's done it. And he's done it. This is why he should be investigated, in my opinion. These people are corrupt, and they are brazen about it. They are absolutely brazen about it, and because they've had no consequences. They've done it in the past. They've been successful in the past, and nobody has gone after them to punish them. In the meantime, people like Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro and Judge Rudy Mayor Rudy Giuliani, they've been punished terribly by this lawfare, and they've had to pay the piper for things that they didn't do. Okay. In the meantime, the people on the left, the corrupt bastards on the left, have done a hell of a lot, and they've paid nothing. It's no big deal. Just let them do it. I think back to President Trump in his first term, that he'd go to a rally, even when he was president, and he'd mention Hillary Clinton. The chant was lock her up, and he'd smile, right? And he was asked in an interview, well, why haven't you done anything? He said, well, I don't think it'd be good for the country to put the former first lady of the country in prison. And that was him in the first term. I do think that this time around, based upon the people that he's picking for these posts, I do believe this is a different President Trump. He has learned that there is no more Mr. Nice Guy. The left doesn't play fair, and they didn't care if he and his family were hurt. Melania was asked, why aren't you going up to see the First Lady when your husband goes to meet the president? And she kind of avoided the issue, but she spoke out and said, no. She called my husband the worst things. And she called my husband a liar and a cheat and all these terrible things. She knew that my house was going to be raided, had no problem with the raid on Mar-a-Lago, and my privacy was evaded. So she did essentially what a loyal, smart wife, I think, would do, and she essentially flipped them the bird. Said, no, you keep your little meeting with the First Lady. I don't need it. I don't want it.
No, I heard that I got it from my son. I didn't see it. I tried to watch it, and there was, it was delayed. I saw the Trump plane land and all that. But apparently the meeting between Trump and Biden, I guess, went well.
Yeah, I saw it, Bill. It was cordial. It was short. It was very short, the part that you saw. It went for about 2 hours, the lunch. But in the public forum where they sat, Trump was, if you're looking at them, Trump was on the left in a high back chair. There was a fireplace, a lit fireplace between them, and on the right was Biden. And Biden welcomed President Trump back to the White House. And President Trump said, politics is a tough game, not very pleasant, but today is pleasant. And I'm appreciative of that, and I'm glad that we're going to have a smooth transition. That was essentially, and I'm paraphrasing, but that is essentially what the two men said. They shook hands. I thought Trump was going to break Joe's hand because there was some force to it. I thought Joe was going to go, ouch. But it was, other than that, that's all we saw. That was it. Off they went.
I had heard they came out, they were laughing, they were cordial, and I guess that Biden slipped Trump an envelope from Jill to give to Melania. So I'm going like, boy, there's a stinker in church.
That's the first I've heard of that, and that's interesting.
So I'd like to know about that note because that letter that Jill wrote to Melania. If it did happen, someone will get it and put it out there. I'm sure that's a stinker in church. The one.
Okay,
I was going to say Trump's forgiving,
right? Melania,
not so much.
I agree, 100%. We were talking a little bit about the Ukraine, and I thought this was interesting. In a surprising turn of events, Donald Trump, Hungary's Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, and Pope Francis could usher in a new era of peace in Europe and help end the conflict in the Ukraine. Now listen to this. UK's The Independent spoke to Hungary's ambassador to the Vatican, Eduard Habsburg Luthringen. It's easy for me to say. Yes, Lothringen, who is attempting to create an international coalition to find a peace deal. The ambassador says Pope Francis has played an important role in supporting a deal with Trump pushing for Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to do what everyone knows has to happen, recognize Russia's territorial conquest. What's interesting is the article goes on and says this comes as British Prime Minister Keir Starmer met in Paris with French President Emmanuel Macron to ensure support for Kyiv and that it continue. And that means for the war to continue. So apparently the Prime Minister of England wants that war to keep on keeping on no matter what. But, Bill, I'm convinced we think that our election just affects us. But I think it has a ripple effect to patriotic people around the world. And I don't mean U.S. patriotic. I mean people who love their country and democracy. The people in Great Britain, I think. A lot of people have had enough of this nonsense. And they look now to us and say, ooh, the United States, they just threw out this whole leftist system. It's gone. And they're putting some adults back into positions of power. I would not be surprised if they have, I know that in England they can have, what do they call it, no confidence vote? And they can boot their prime minister almost at the drop of a hat. And as opposed to us, we have to wait 4 years with these people, a.k.a. Joe Biden, right? But
Right.
But I think that it wouldn't surprise me if the people in England put a lot of pressure on their government to get someone in office who's a bit more conservative and can join hands with the U.S. and not be adversarial. But, in that troika that they were talking about of the Hungarian, Viktor Orban and Pope Francis and Donald Trump, the one that seems to be the odd man out for me is Pope Francis. I think Viktor Orban essentially is Hungarian's version of MAGA, make Hungary great again. I don't know what the abbreviation would be there, but you have Viktor Orban, President Trump, their allies, their side-by-side buddies. You have to ask, what is Pope Francis doing there? Because he's a leftist. He's an Argentinian socialist, essentially. Some people say he's more of a socialist than he is Catholic. I am Catholic. It's no secret on this show. If you've listened regularly, you know that I'm Catholic. I practice. I'm not fallen away, and I believe that you don't turn your back on something because one man is screwing it up, and I think this guy, Pope Francis, I don't know how he's going to help this mix work. I'm surprised that he's even talking to Trump and Orban. And maybe this is just wishful thinking. Maybe it's just a proposal and it hasn't come to fruition yet. But if there's any truth to this, it'll be interesting to see whether he plays a part in trying to bring peace to the Ukraine. And apparently all they really need to do, Bill, based upon what I just read here, is to acknowledge that the areas that are closer to Russia that they've already taken control over, they are Russian. And historically in the past, they have been Russian. So it'll be interesting. I guess, is that the Crimea area of the Ukraine? So,
look, a lot of stuff has been given up over the years, and there's been a lot of disgruntlement about it. But we're using it as an excuse. We need to get our nose out of their affairs.
Yeah, we have got to. President Trump said he's going to get this war in the Ukraine solved before he gets into office. I would not be surprised. People may say, well, what kind of power does a almost president have? I mean, he's not president yet. Well,
a lot,
a ton. He's been picked to be the president. He'll be sworn in on January 20th, and it'll be official. But he can go up to somebody now and say, look, you do this or we're going to shut you off. Well, you can't shut me off. You're not president. Well, I know. It's a matter of a few days. Just hang in there. On the 21st, you'll be shut off.
Well, let me ask you a question. It's a few days, So the 21st, do you think that we're going to make it to then, or the Democrats, they're trying to upset congressional seats, Senate seats, that's obvious. They're out there throwing with the media that's going broke, with their last breath. They spit at thee, and they're trying to do that last rush to try to upset things. Now Jack Smith is going to resign either today or tomorrow, but he's going to release another well-written letter of thought. By God.
Here's what I would suggest to Jack Smith, okay? Release what you want to release. You want to release documents and make it release it. But expect to get a knock on your door or a summons of some kind soon, because you're going to be coming back to D.C., because it will not surprise me if whoever the AG of the President Trump is, I think it'll be Matt Gaetz. But if Matt Gaetz doesn't get approved, don't you think for 1 second that President Trump hasn't got a plan B that is just as testy and just as pro-Trump as Matt Gaetz is? Trust me, this is not all or nothing.
I got a question for you, because you see the left whining and crying, and they're out there throwing the little sticks and stones that they're getting from the DNC.
Yeah.
And they're trying everything in desperation. I just can't believe our majority lost. You didn't have a majority to begin with. Well, then you guys must have stolen it. Well, you would know about stealing stuff now, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But my question is to my fellow conservatives. We came out en masse. We voted, we won, and we showed them our mettle. But let's say that they, through the powers that they have still in possession of, and they don't have to relinquish until in January, they find a way to prevent the turnover of power.
That can't happen. I don't know, Bill. I know what you're saying, and it's interesting, but I don't know whether there's anything. We discussed this months ago about what happens if President Trump is found guilty and is also elected president. Can he be president in prison? And the answer was yes. He can be president in prison.
But what I'm saying is, just for argument's sake, I didn't think that they would sit there and be doing what they're doing with McCormick, because they are going to new levels. It's obvious. Even they said there's not enough votes for Casey to win. And now all of a sudden, well, we're within the realm of possibility. Imagine that we found more votes than there really were. Oh, really? And you see the trucks coming in. There's the video of
Bill,
that
I just don't know whether I don't know whether there's any way that they can stop the transfer of power. Unless, wait, what happens if now the vice president of the United States has to certify the election?
Mm-hmm.
What if Kamala doesn't certify the election? Doesn't she have to?
Well, if she doesn't certify it, and they're trying to say right now, because I saw this story floating out there, the Republicans are saying it was a big disparity, between the votes there, but it really was closer than you think. And we're finding more and more votes that really show that Kamala really won.
Oh, Bucky.
They're setting up this narrative out there, out in their little streams, hoping that they'll flow into a river and say, well, maybe we should go back and read.
I saw a headline yesterday. It wasn't a mandate. Oh, no, it was a mandate. The leftist reporters, like Bill just said, are trying to sell the public, the mass, that it wasn't the big election that it was. It was massive. Trust me.
They're not really trying to sell you, Jim, or me. What they're trying to do is they're little sycophants out there. They're trying to sell them, hey, friends, you didn't lose. That's the ticket.
Yeah.
There's proof. They want to get them riled up because the wind was knocked out of their sails. They're trying to inflate those sails so that they can do something, because they still have the machine to steal. And they're trying to fire that engine back up.
What's interesting, I find, is that Kamala has become noticeably silent. She has not made many comments that I've heard of. She's kind of accepted it. Maybe she got sick of it. Maybe she wasn't happy. I know we talked about this, and there were a couple of times on video that you and I commented. She looks a little tipsy there in public. Maybe it was taking a toll on her, and she just figured, oh, to hell with it. I'm not.
Well, what I would recommend that conservatives do, pretend like the fight isn't over.
Yes.
And, and just sit there and post all your positive stories. And you know what? Just like the left is trying to do the negative stuff, go ahead and remind them that they lost in every way that you can. Every story,
yes.
Keep it out there, keep it ready, and be ready. Just like in Pennsylvania, if they go, well, we might have to go and redo a special election or something like that because this count is closer than we think, be ready to go back and vote again. And just sit there and say, you didn't believe me this time, the number's bigger, because they're already trying to sell the story of buyer's remorse. Oh, there's so many people that are out there going, how do I change my vote? So the next thing you're going to hear is, well, friends, you can change your vote if we redo the election.
If there is another election, the next step is you've got to get every Republican in the state of Pennsylvania, every single one. And then you've got to get every like-minded Democrat who believes that in the MAGA movement, you've got to get them all to vote. You've got to get them out there and vote. It's as simple as that. We've got to suck it up, take a deep breath, and make another. It's like you're on the 1 yard line in a football game, and you got 10 seconds on the clock. All right, and you fought like heck to get to that 1 yard line, and you're tired, you're beat up, you are drained. But when you play football, you have to take a deep breath. You gotta muster every bit of strength that you can, and you got to make that final push. If they're saying that, no, you didn't get into the goal, you didn't get the touchdown the first time, it's on the 1 yard line, and it's fourth down, you have got to make that goal, that next down work. You've got to score. That's what we have to do. We have to score if they make us have another election in the future. It just has to be that way. I want to play for you Steve Bannon. We're talking about guys like Jack Smith and Adam Schiff and all these miserable, lousy people who have made Trump's life a living hell, and in doing so, subsequently, has made our lives hell because we have felt Trump's pain. We are sympathetic to his movement and his beliefs, and when they were attacking Trump and doing it with great glee, right? They were also attacking you and I. I want to play for you. This is Steve Bannon yesterday. They're going after Steve Bannon again. This is like a last futile attempt these next 2 months. They're trying. He's been in jail for 4 months. He's not out a month yet, and they're trying to hit him again with more charges. These people are frigging relentless. They don't like the right, and they
I'll
don't
tell you what to do after we do this audio.
Okay, here's Steve Bannon. Listen to what he says here. This is the truth.
The people rendered their verdict on all this lawfare on last Tuesday, 1 week ago. And like I've worked on for years and years and years, the whole country came together. Working class people all over came together, and they rejected what's going on in this court and what's going on with President Trump. The lawfare of Tish James and Alvin Bragg and Jack Smith and Merrick Garland has been rejected by a landslide by the American people. So the one thing I have to say to Merrick Garland, Lisa Monaco, Jack Smith, Tish James, Alvin Bragg, you wait. The hunted are about to become the hunters. Thank you very much.
The hunted are about to become the hunters. And I do think that's the case. That's when you look at all of these nominees that Trump is putting in. The first term, he took the advice of strangers who he kind of trusted, and it backfired on him. He had some weak people in off. This time around, Trump has had 4 years to get to know people, actually 8 years. He knows his people, and he's put in what I consider to be first-class nominees in this position that are going to carry the standard. You were going to say something, Bill. I didn't mean to step on you.
Yeah, I'm going back to what you just said, and they're stabbing out there. I'll go back to that line, from hell's heart, I spit at thee. The left is not going to go down without a fight. They're going to fight to their last breath, and they're taking all their energy and time.
Yeah. And
a lot can be done in 60 days if they so set their mind to it, and we sit back and go, well, job's done. It's not job done. Like I said before, you've got to get engaged and get involved. You got to make calls, go, what can I do? You can sit there and keep the social post going, make sure the news stories are out there, the negative things on the left, and you're going, well, how am I going to have time to do all that? You got 7 hours of sleep, you got 7 hours of, it's 8 hours of work, but we'll call it 7 hours of work and 7 hours of your time. Take 10% of your time, 42 to 45 minutes a day, and devote it to your political empowerment to keep those rats, at bay until we get in there. And for the people that have been nominated, don't wait until Trump is sworn in. Start your work now. Go ahead and start laying the groundwork and showing the dirtiness of these people so that can be brought to light too. So if they're Democrats who go, well, I vote Democrat. No, wait, what's that? Seriously?
Matt Gaetz, Bill, didn't wait a day. Matt Gaetz literally, as soon as he was nominated to the Attorney General's position, and by the way, he knew right off the bat that he was going to be challenged, and he has been. Terrible things have been said to him by the media and by other rhinos in government, but he is standing pat, and he resigned his position as a representative and is devoting all of his time right now on this new role that he thinks he has a chance on getting. And I think you're right. You've got to be more of a patriot now than ever before, because now it's beyond the election. It's actually, think of it, the election was halftime, and we're leading at halftime, but the game isn't over.
The election was a letter of intent. Now you've got to produce and deliver. We've got to carry through.
Yeah.
It is up to us to reinforce and stand there behind our mandate that we gave him and help him, usher him through and usher through these people. There are more appointments to be made, but, if we sit down and wait until the 20th and the 21st, they're out there cranking up that money machine again. Yeah. Go, you got to donate. You got to donate. I know you feel bad, but don't worry. We got a plan. See, we know how to steal stuff. Come on. Let's not let them get away with it.
I think also the good news down the road is over the course of the next 4 years, a lot of these thieves, these corrupt people who are doing this are going to pay the piper. And I think they know it, and that's probably why they're so desperate. Adam Schiff sweating it out. All of a sudden he realizes, wait a second, there's going to be an AG who's going to come after me now? An AG that's going to uncover the corruption that I've been involved in? Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be the case over the course of the next 4 years and maybe 8 years. Anyway, I wanted to play for you Tom Homan, one of the best choices President Trump has made. He's the new border czar. Listen to what he said in an interview yesterday, I believe.
Criminals and gang members get no grace period. But while we're out prioritizing the public safety threats and national security threats, if you want to self-deport, you should self-deport. Because, again, we know who you are, and we're going to come and find you. So if you want to self-deport, that's fine. But criminals and gang members, they get no favors from this administration. You came to this country legally, which is a crime. You committed crimes against the United States citizens, some heinous crimes. You get no grace period, so we're coming for you. But for those others, the non-criminals, if you want to self-deport, I'm all for it. Because when they self-report, they can put their orders, put everything in order, their family business, if they got homes or whatever, they can put all that in order and leave with their family altogether. It makes perfect sense for the ones that are not criminals and not priorities.
How are they going to get home? How do they get home?
Well, the ones we're going to arrest, we won't put on an airplane and send them home. And the ones that want to go home on their own, They found their way across the world to come to the greatest nation on earth. They can find their way home. Either that, or I'll give them a free airline ticket that we put them on our airplane and we'll take them home. It's either way. It's up to them. If we arrest them, they come on our airplane, Sean. If they want to go on their own airplane, I welcome it.
I love how Sean says, how are they going to get home? Well, hey, either they go by themselves, they get their own ticket, or we'll put them on an airplane. They'll be on our airplane. They're going home. They're going home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't. I mean, it might be a plane, an old cargo plane. It's sound and good flight.
Yeah.
It can fly well, but it may not be the most comfortable plane to sit on.
You can either go on a 757 or a 767, or you can go on a C5A in the cargo bay. One of the two, but you're heading back to where you came from. Don't be surprised. There will be demonstrations very soon. There was one last weekend, and they figured that they were mostly illegals in New York. There will be more demonstrations. Only problem with demonstrations is, and they got to be careful about this, is that's where you get a lot of illegals in one place, and maybe you might end up getting either imprisoned or deported right off the bat. I mean, by going
round up at the Oh No Corral.
Yes, get on the bus. It'll be interesting. It's going to be a period of change in our country. Bill, how long do you think it's going to take to deport? There's a lot of people here that shouldn't be. We're talking what 20 million is an estimate.
Well, they had 4 years to get them in, and they were probably trying to sneak some in before, but and there were some probably during the Biden-Obama years, but I don't know. Maybe it could be done in a year.
I mean,
if it's massive, because once we say that's it, you're done, you're out of here, and we cut off their money flow via that card that they got.
Yeah.
I mean, you tell employers, I'm sorry, but if they have no papers, they are not a citizen, they do not have a job. Because if you employ these people, I get, they got to have money to eat. You know what? The church can take care of them for things to eat, but they got to go home. It's time for you to go home. And if you sit there and aid in the bed, then you're just as guilty as they are.
Yeah, I see. It's not going. It's going to be these planes. I would imagine will have some kind of security system in place. I would imagine the pilots will be in a more secure cockpit than a normal airplane, because you don't know who you got in the cargo bay. You don't know who's going to be terribly enthusiastic about going back to where they came from. I heard. We have a lot of people here other than people from Central America and Mexico. We have people from China, Africa, Haiti, Iran. We've got people in this country from Iran. I would imagine those will be the first people they're going to go after, from what I understand, are the criminals. The first people they're going to go after are the people who are here to cause trouble.
When you round them up, I hate to say it, because they called them internment camps, but you have to put them somewhere. And, like I remember growing up in California, they always talked about the internment camps there. There was one, like in Fresno, they used the fairgrounds. Outside of town, they used an old base system in Pinedale. And they had them there. But, and they put everything there, for safe, whatever. And we could do that, too. We could sit there and say, sorry, but we're going to have to do this until we get everybody effectively out of here. Doesn't mean that they're treated like hell. They can be treated nice, and just say, we set up these temporary barracks, for you until you leave. We cannot sit there and let you run about amok, because you'll just run off and hide somewhere.
And
that's going to happen too.
And Bill, most of them came across with just a knapsack on their back across the Rio Grande. Many of them were marshaled in by coyotes, who are essentially criminals who are ferrying these people illegally into our country. So anything we give them will be much better than what they had coming here. If we take them to a comfortable bed and food, and it's a holding place until they go to the next step, the flight back to their country. That it's not imprisonment, but understand something, folks. Remember this. Remember this. People keep trying to not admit to this. They are here illegally.
Mm-hmm.
They're breaking our laws. And what do you do with people who break the law? You put them in prison. Now, these people won't be going to prison. Like Bill said, these are simply holding areas that they'll go to until they fly back to their country.
And hopefully we can process quickly so they can they're not mishandled. They can be handled safely and gotten back safely. How do you track them? Well, the easiest way that you can do up front, there's going to be a lot that have gone beyond this, but we gave them phones and we gave them cards, credit cards. Now you can track the phones right now. You can GPS it and find out where it is. If they still got it, it's turned on. You can find that person, because if they got that phone, chances are it's them, and it would be real quick to find out if it's them. The credit card, you can get a geographic location, because you might go, well, we see this credit card has made 16 purchases in this little block area. You know that's probably an area where you go in and just sit there and say, okay, let's round them up. And
hey, Bill, you know that the city of New York, the police in the city of New York, most of them have a real good handle on where illegals are. I mean, I can tell you right off the bat, they're in a lot of the hotels in New York, like the Roosevelt Hotel. But that's just one place. But even those who have separated and gone on their merry way to individual locations, I would imagine police in the towns where these people are can tell you where these people are living. Because they can't, they haven't got the wherewithal. I know that even in the town that I live in, we have got people here who seem to be uninvited. Let's just leave it at that, all right? And I would imagine right now many of them will self-deport, because they've got to look at this election and think, okay, the jig is up. I can do one or two things. I can pretend that I'm going to evade these people for the next few years, or I can hop on an airplane and pack up my stuff and take all the money I made here and go back to my homeland. Let
me ask you a dumb question. I mean, these people are here and they're trying to make them citizens.
Yeah.
And I'm sure somewhere there's some legal eagles, democratic legal eagles, that are representing these people, and they got to know how to find them if they're going to try to, massage the paperwork to get them in. Now, I get the attorney-client privilege, but there's also a thing of saying, okay, you know what? You don't want to say anything? We'll lock you up. So, in other words,
can you subpoena the evidence? Can you?
Well, yes, you could.
If you're the Attorney General and you say, I want to see all your documents, Massachusetts, Massachusetts, Maura Healey came out and said, she said this too. I saw the quote. She said, you're not going to come after citizens of my state or people of my state, residents of my state. She corrected herself, but she was referring to these illegals as citizens of her state.
She knows where they are. So I would go to Maura Healey and say, look, you know what? You're a fine person, but we differ on this. And let me just tell you, I'm going to use, just like you would, all the power that I have in the legal system. So we're going to subpoena this. We're going to do it above board in the right way. You know that you're harboring illegal fugitives. So if you don't give us that, I'm sorry, Miss Healey, but we'll lock you up.
Because you're a co-conspirator.
Exactly.
Yeah. No,
sorry.
That's the whole thing. People don't seem to realize that they haven't, if they're facilitating the violation of federal law, right, then they're a participant in the crime. Maura Healey can say, I'm the governor and I can do what I want in my state. No, you can't violate federal law in your state. This goes back, Bill, to the sanctuary city nonsense, which, by the way, I believe this administration is going to prove that it's empty, it holds no water, and that it is not of any value anymore. And what's happened is they've allowed cities to say, we're a sanctuary city. You can come here and live and nothing will happen, right? And the federal government has said, okay, well, San Francisco's a sanctuary city. We'll leave them alone. That's how they've been, especially over the last 4 years. This new administration should, and I think will, come along and say, wait, we don't acknowledge sanctuary cities. If they're in your city and they're not supposed to be here, they are criminals. If you don't help us to arrest them, you're violating our law too, and you may go to jail. You know, I've often thought, why wouldn't the federal government come into a city like San Francisco and say, all right, you're not going to go pick up these people? We're gonna deputize your police to be federal officers. We're going to deputize them, and then we're going to make your police go get our criminals.
Let me ask you a question. Massachusetts, just like any other state, I'm sure they get some federal money.
Lots, Bill. Yeah, sure.
Cut it off.
Well, that'll smart, you know. I mean, if they're building new bridges over the Cape Cod Canal or something, or all of a sudden
all your funds are cut off.
Yeah.
If you do not want to play legally and above board,
right,
cut off.
All that highway resurfacing you're doing in Massachusetts,
it's done.
Yep.
Hey, you explain it to your public. Oh, those nasty Republicans. No, it has nothing to do with that. It has you vacating the law.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we're going to vacate your bank account. We're not going to fund it anymore. You're on your own.
You're being unpatriotic leftist. That's what you are, and you're screwing up the system.
You're on your own. That now, somebody will probably say, "Oh, you can't legally do that." Well, there's a lot of things that Democrats have done that you can't legally do, but I bet you.
Oh, I think you can, Bill.
I think you could, and I don't think anyone's ever thought of that. So there you go. There's a solution, real quick. I mean, it's like Daddy cutting off your allowance. Daddy, I'm going to do what I want. Really? I've had enough of your shenanigans. Your allowance is cut off. That's it. You're done. Yeah. And all of a sudden, you either fall in line.
You shape up or ship out. Yeah. Hey, before we forget, Bill, we should take one more time to point out that this is the only spot where you can buy the Daddy's Home T-shirt, sweatshirt, and cup. You got to see this, folks. At the very least, go to our website, rightsideshop.com. Even if you don't buy it, you got to see this thing, rightsideshop.com. You won't find this shirt anywhere else. It's a Jim and Bill exclusive, made by our designers, and it's worth it, and it's not terribly expensive compared to a lot of other T-shirts. And I was amazed to find out, because I'm a big guy, that it comes in big man sizes too. If you're a big guy and you want to buy a sweatshirt that shows how you feel, this is your chance. I think it goes up to 5X, Bill. 5X. I could put two people in there.
Could put two of you in there. Really?
It might be fun putting two people in.
Yeah. Say, baby, I
There's
got
a
some
story
plans
there.
for us this Friday night, but we'll leave it alone.
We also have Right Side Coffee available on our website. It's medium roast and medium decaf roast. It's called Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee, and it's the only place that brings Juan and the border crossers in to sing the jingle. These guys are great. They are here illegally, and I would suggest that you listen to them and enjoy their music as much as you can now, because at some point they may be whisked away when we least expect it. But for the meantime, Juan and the border crossers.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Oh, it's magnificent. Wake up on the right side. They did it so well. I love what you said yesterday. They're doing personal appearances at people's porches. That's
Yeah, they got their cups they bring out right after, Right Side Coffee, and they hold their cup out.
Think of it as a mini concert. It's terrific. Yeah,
but they're 10 cups actually. But
But actually,
so we should hear the ding of the change.
We should give them one of our Daddy's Homes cups. That would be good.
Yeah, that would work.
And maybe we could give them like Daddy's Home shirts to wear when they go on tour. So I think it's a great idea. And again, they do a very unique tour. They go, instead of going to a concert hall or concert venue, they bring the concert to your front porch. They ring the doorbell, they sing the song, and they leave. Oh, yes.
Like a ding-dong ditch, huh?
Wake up on the right side. It's Right Side Coffee. They're gone. Anyway, we've had a lot to talk about. This has been a busy, busy, busy week, and it's only Thursday. It's only Thursday.
Well, I think a lot more is going to happen. And, as with all weekends, there's always a shoe to drop. And the Democrats are, they've recovered from their shock, and now they're trying to do whatever. They're doing what they do.
Yeah, they do.
And they will do what they do over the weekend. Just call it doo-doo for the weekend.
Yes.
But it's Democrat doo-doo. So we'll wait and see.
Hey, listen, we're just about done here. I want to point out that Lee Greenwood, he does God Bless the USA.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait a second. I almost missed something, and I would have slapped myself silly if I hadn't played this cut. There's a new comedy ad that was created.
Oh, yeah.
It is so funny, and I'm going to play the audio from the ad, but the visuals make it even funnier. And I want you to understand when the ad ends, there's a slight pause, and then you'll hear like a second part to it, okay? And the second part is even funnier. You got to pay attention to the second part. So it'll be like 60 seconds worth of the ad, and then a little bit of a pause, and then you can hear the follow-up to the ad. This is Don't Cry Cryo. Listen.
Are you distraught after the recent presidential election? Here at Don't Cry Cryo, we understand your pain, and we're here to help. Our expert team of cryogenic care providers can cryogenically freeze you until the Trump presidency has ended. No more crying, no more anxiety attacks, just blissful sleep until Trump is gone. When you awaken from your slumber, we'll even have a party ready and waiting for you. It will be like his presidency never even happened. It was all just a bad dream. As an added bonus, you can choose the Vance add-on package. We'll extend your sleep for an additional 4 years at a 50% discount in the event J.D. Vance wins the next presidential election. Everything will be okay. We're here to take care of you in your time of need. So remember, don't cry, cryo.
And then there was more.
Where am I? Oh, please tell me it's over. Wait, something isn't right.
This is your captain, Elon Musk. I want to be the first one to welcome you to Mars. Sorry, Donald Trump Jr. was just elected president, and he deported all Don't Cry Cryo customers to Mars.
What the...
I love the premise. Don't cry, cryo. They can cryogenically make you go to sleep for 4 years, and then for a 50% discount, if J.D. Vance wins, they'll let you sleep for 4 more years, and then at the end you hear they wake up in a spaceship and they're heading towards Mars. Donald Trump Jr. was elected president, and he sent all you cryo people off to another planet. It's sad. It's a funny premise. I think the company that put that out is called Newsy, and I guess they must be some kind of a satire kind of a company. It's very well done. And if you want to see the video to it, go to gatewaypundit.com. There's a story there, and it has the video on the story, and you can play it to your heart's content. The sad part about it is there's a lot of people out there who are not taking this whole change of government well, to say the least. I mean, they're having mental issues. I think you may have heard about the woman who killed her father because he happened to be conservative and she was a leftist and just couldn't stand it. So she had to get rid. Another guy killed his whole family, his wife and his children, and then himself, because he didn't want to live in a world. He didn't want his family to live in a world that had President Trump as the president. I mean, this is sad stuff, folks. This is mental illness. This is. Understand something. If you're on the left, understand something, that the people on the right, the MAGA movement people, when you inserted Joe Biden into the presidency in 2020, we all felt exactly like you do now. We all felt that way, but we didn't go out and do anything nuts. We kind of sucked it up, and that's how the MAGA movement really began. It's like people started to join hands and they built something that was effective, and 4 years later, here's the result. You have that opportunity too. If your movement, if you think your movement is important and good and better than this movement here, then do something similar, but don't do something irrational. You know. Anyway, we were talking about Lee Greenwood before we got interrupted by that commercial. Lee Greenwood has, you all know his signature song is "God Bless the USA," and we all know how it goes. It's a ballad. It's great. Well, he kind of has put a new version of it out, and he has a young guy. What's his name? I'll tell you in a second. He's got a co-singer, and it's here somewhere. I when you want to find something real quick, it's really hard to find it. I think his name is Drew Jacobs. Anyway, this young guy, and Bill said that as soon as he heard his voice, this young guy sounds like a young Lee Greenwood.
It sounds like Lee Greenwood did back in the 80s.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there going, well, you know what? That song gets new life for the next 20 years or 30 years.
Yeah.
And the song has become a staple thanks to Trump.
Yeah.
And it's almost going to be an institutional American patriotic theme, and I like that.
We've been playing Trump Won and You Know It, which we love, as our closing, just as a salute to the president, the president-elect. But today we're going to play the Lee Greenwood song in its entirety after Bill says his signature sign-off. So I'm done here, if you would, sir.
Well, I'm going to get right to it so we can hear the song. Hasta la vista, baby! We're out of here.
If tomorrow the things were gone, I'd work for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife, and thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave
This is CRN America.